Hello everyone, welcome back. So in this tutorial, what I want to do is show how we can add a VR template to our project here. So this is right now is set up standalone first person. There we are, here we are. So what we want to do next is we want to get this ready for VR. So first thing is first, I'm going to go up here to project settings, or I'm sorry, plugins. And then I'm going to look for XR, and we want to have open XR. And then we have to start our project here. Okay, so now we have installed the OpenXR plugin, and we're going to go ahead and add the VR map to it now. So let's go to Add right here. Add. And we're going to go to Feature or Content Pack, and we're going to do Virtual Reality and add it to the project. So that adds the VR template and VR spectator information here. We're now going to go to our Maps tab under VR template, and we're going to jump into the VR template map. So this is the VR template map, and we are actually going to get rid of a lot of this stuff, but I do want to keep a few things and talk about them. So these little cubes are called grab actors, which means I can pick them up. So I'm going to keep these, and I'm going to swap out the meshes with some of my sculptures so that I can pick up my sculptures and toss them around or whatever. This actually is a static mesh, but it can be kicked. So it has a specific kind of physics applied to it. So if you want to have something you can kick in your scene, you can keep that and swap it out for a different mesh. And what I mean by that is if I click on this, you can go up to the actual mesh right here. And if I down click on this, I can swap it out for any of the meshes that I've got in my content browser, which is nice. And I'll show you how to set that up a little bit more pretty soon. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and delete all of this stuff. So this right here is a sphere reflection capture. This is actually associated with baked lighting, which we're not going to be getting into. We're going to be using Lumen for this. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the reflection capture. I'm going to start just deleting all these static meshes. I don't need walls. I don't need these lights. So just go through, and sound cue, I don't need that. I don't need the guns. I don't need the floor. This is a light map importance volume. Again, don't need that. And I'm going to go ahead and, because we're going to be using Lumen, so some of these things assume baked lighting, like I said. We do need this. This is bad size. This is actually our player start. And I don't need this. This is a blocking volume. This is the spectator's pawn. I'm going to leave that though, and I'm just going to kind of hide it later on. And then what we have here is what we call a nav mesh bounds. If you're using the teleport function, this is telling you where you can teleport on the map. I'm going to leave it just in case I decide to make a version of this where you can choose teleportation or standard what we call locomotion, which is using the joysticks to move around the scene. But I'm going to leave that for now. Other things to get rid of, my directional light. I'm going to copy all of this stuff over from my other file. So get rid of the sky, click on the sky, delete. All right. And I think that is basically all what is this thing? Oh, that's our spectator's pawn. Okay, so we've got an empty kind of scene with a couple of different elements here. We'll switch back over to our first person map and double click here. Save selected. We'll pop over here. Okay. And then I want to select all of my stuff in the scene. So I'm going to hit Control A. And then I want to deselect some stuff. I've got some cinematics set up in this scene. I'm going to unselect or deselect those because I don't need to copy those over. So I'm just basically looking for things that I do not need. I don't need the player start. Yeah, make sure you don't copy the player start. Post-process volume's fine. Weather's good. Ambiance cue. I'm going to copy my sound cue over. Cool. And I think that might be all of it. Okay. Control C to copy it. And then now we're going to switch back over to our VR template map again. Okay. And Control V. Or, of course, the relevant command versions for Mac. Okay, so you can see it's all in the scene. I've even got my weather. I've got all the lights. I've got basically the exact same setup that I had in the other version. Okay, I can also, let me just pull this. Oh, it won't let me move it. I guess because there's multiple actors that have different locations on it, but that's fine. I don't need to move it. I'm going to leave it right there, even though it's not at my 000 place that I like. Okay, so I'm now going to move my player start character over into the scene where I would like him. Hit F to zoom in. I pushed him all the way through, it looks like. I'll switch views here. Go to top view. And locate my player. Kind of right there. And then I'm going to go to a front view just to make sure it's at the right height. So with the player start, you want it kind of buried into the ground a little bit, like that, because you imagine it's actually the VR headset and it's sitting on the ground. So once you pick it up, your height is the player height, and that's kind of the best way to do it. All right, switch back to perspective, hit F again to kind of zoom in on my object here. Looks good, kind of buried in the ground, perfect. All right. All right, so that's getting my template basically set up here. Next, we want to do some optimization things. So this will already work. If I hit play, I can teleport around. The default is what they call teleportation, where you actually basically just shoot yourself to different spots in the gallery. But I'm going to switch that out in a minute here. So other things I want to do, I want to go to my post-process volume here and select that. So this is something that was created in the previous, in our first person player, which we talked about in a previous video. I want to change some of the parameters for lumen because I've got them bumped up kind of high. And with VR, you're going to have some issues here. So let's see, global illumination is lumen. All right, the view distance, I'm going to click on this and I'm going to lower this down to about 1,000. From 20,000. So that's basically going to give us, like, it's not going to render things as far away. So maybe I'll do 2,000. So that's like 1/10 of the distance. And you'll notice if something looks funny, you can kind of lower that down as well. All of these settings I've got here are bumped up. I don't know if yours look exactly the same. They might not. But I'm going to go ahead and do static lighting quality. I'm going to do 1, scene detail 1, final gather quality. I'm going to just do 1. And then reflections are lumen as well. And these are fine. And I'll also do max trace distance. I'm going to lower that down to 2,000 as well. And 0.5 and 0.5 are fine here. Okay, so that'll give us a little bit more optimization here. Cool. So next step is to do some locomotion stuff so that the player starts and you can use the joysticks to move around the space. So I will now switch back from modeling mode to selection mode, and we're going to do some blueprint stuff. All right, so let me actually just pull these panels over a little bit. Increase the size of my scenes. Okay, so now we're going to go into our inputs. Inputs are, of course, like controllers, keyboards, all of that kind of stuff. So under our inputs, we're going to go to our actions, and I'm going to add a couple. So right-click into here, and I'm going to go to input, and I'm going to go to input action. I'm going to title this first one IA_smooth move. Okay. And then I'm going to right click and go to input, another input, and this one IA_smooth turn. Okay, so these are the two inputs we're going to use. And then we're going to go into each one of them. First, I'm going to go into smooth move. And then I'm going to go to axis 2D here. Vector 2D, like that. And then I'm going to go to modifiers here, and I'm going to add a modifier. And then under here, I'm going to look for dead zone. Okay, put the dead zone there. Drop this down, and this is all good. And we can title this something too. Locomotion, save it, close it. Okay, and then we go into our second one here, which is smooth turn. We can call it turn. And I'm going to change the value type to one axis float. Add a modifier, and I'm going to change that to, again, dead zone. And our settings under the index here are fine. Radial, perfect, okay? And save and close. So that creates our two new inputs, and then we have to call upon those inputs. So the way we do that is we're going to go to our input here, input folder, input right here, and I'm going to go to IMC default, double click here, and I'm going to look at the mapping here, and you can see these are all the ones we've already got. I want to add a mapping, and I want to call it, which one is it? Smooth move. Okay. And then under here, I want to change that input to Oculus Touch left thumbstick. Thumbstick 2D axis. Boom. Okay. So that's the one for smooth move, 2D axis. Wonderful. Next, add another one. And, ooh, be careful. I just parented this one. That's not good. So, okay. So you wanted to make sure it's right there. Okay, cool. So none. Now we're looking for turn. Smooth turn. Okay. Drop this down. Change this to Oculus Touch controllers. And we're looking for our thumbstick X-axis. Okay. Perfect. Save it, close it, and on we go. So next we actually need to go to the character's blueprint and edit how the character moves through the scene so that instead of using teleportation, it's now using our locomotion that we just set up. So we want to go to blueprints, and our VR pawn is our guy. Double click in here. So these are all of the visual code telling the pawn what to do. Set tracking onto the floor. We've got snap turn, and we've got our teleport here, which teleport is what we want to get rid of. So we disconnect all these. So I'll just go, I think it's a control left click. No, is it Alt left click? Yeah, Alt left click to break these links, because we don't want these links. I'm not going to delete it all, but I'm just going to Alt left click. Oops, that's grab. We want to grab. Alt left click. Okay, so the grab actor I'm keeping. Sorry. Teleport, turn, I believe is the one. Oh yeah, turn, click, click. Okay, so now teleport has basically been disabled. Now we've got to go over here and add some more stuff. So I'm going to go to class settings here first. This is all of this stuff is super important. So class settings here, and I'm going to switch from character pawn here to character. Boom, character. Okay. And then I'm going to add some visual code here for our getting our character locked in with our controls. So first, I'm going to right click in here, and I want to go enhanced input action. Okay, I'll just search for IA_smooth turn, and it's enhanced action events. Smooth turn is the one I want. Click on that. Okay. And then I'm going to pull off of the triggered here, and I'm going to go add actor world rotation function. Okay. And then I'm going to pull off of this, and I'm going to go multiply. All right, the little X is what we're looking for there. And I'm going to change this to 2. And then I'm going to pull this. Oh, actually, you know what? I got to split these pins. So right click on this right here and then split the pin. And now you've got these 3. And I'm going to do delta rotation yaw. Okay. Okay, so that is our rotation. All right, so next we want to get our movement stuff. So let's go ahead and right click here, and we'll do IA_smooth move, and then enhanced action events. Click that. Click the little down arrow here to pull up all of these. And then I'm going to pull off of triggered and go to add movement input. Okay. And we want to make sure target is self. Right. Okay. Cool. And then we are going to pull just down here. I'm going to right click and go get forward vector. And I'm going to look for camera. First one here. Okay. And then I'm also going to create one for get a right vector. So I'm going to pull over here and go get right vector. Okay. And then I'm going to multiply. I want to split these and make multiply and add, and just kind of trying to create a smooth rotation and stuff. So, or movement here. So I'm going to pull off of this, and I'm going to go multiply. Okay. And then I'm going to pull off of our X value. Under action value here, I'm going to split this pin here. So, okay. Now I'm going to pull X into here. Okay. And then I want to do another multiply. And then I'm going to pull the Y into here. Okay, so it should look something like this. And then I want to add them together. So I'm going to pull this over here and go add this and this. And now it looks like that. Pull this over here a little bit more. And then I'm going to plug this into our world direction. All right, so it should look something kind of like that. Very good. Okay, compile. And then I want to go ahead and close this. And let's go, oh, actually I didn't want to close that, sorry. Go back over here. And then we're gonna go to our capsule here in the viewport. So go into the viewport here, and this is my capsule. And you can adjust the size of the capsule to kind of make it work with your, with the size of your space and stuff like that too. How tall is the person, that kind of stuff. I'm going to go ahead and just go 110 here like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and move the origin on the VR origin here. I'm going to move this to -88. So the camera's at the bottom. And I'm going to go to the camera here and move this to -88. Okay. Compile. All green. And then the last thing I'm going to do, I got to switch back over to our event graph here, and I'm going to search for yaw. And I'm going to deselect use controller rotation yaw. Compile. Close. And now we should be set up. So I'm just going to plug in my VR headset, and we'll do a VR kind of test in a second here. But so we do need to make sure that when we fire this thing up, it fires up in the virtual reality template. So back up here to edit, project settings, most crucial stuff here, maps and modes. We're going to go to game mode base here, and down here we want VR game mode. Okay. Then we want to switch this from first person to VR template map, and this one here from first person to VR template map under default maps. And then we're going to go to maps and modes. Let's see, start. Where is it? Start in VR. Right there. Click that. Close. Save everything. All right, and let's give it a little test here. Okay, so all we got to do is we come up here to these little three dots, and I can do VR preview. If I click on this, I need to make sure my VR headset is all set up, Oculus linked to the computer, and I'm looking at it in the Oculus Link visual style, not in the standalone version. So I'm going to go ahead and go VR preview, click that, and then I'm in VR preview. So the last thing is we want to get the media player working. So we copied everything over, but when we walk through the space, it's not going to work. So the way we get it to work is we have to basically recreate our scripts. So we can go back to our first person map here, first person prints maps. And then we can pull up our blueprint where we have all of our stuff set up. So we go to our level blueprint, and we've got all of our looping, all of our escape, all of that stuff. I'm going to just copy it, Control C, close it, go to our virtual reality map. And then go to the blueprint for this one. And I already created the escape. I'm going to delete that and just paste this. So the problem with this is we don't have our begin and end overlap events here. Event play, this whole thing should work fine. If I compile it, you'll see my errors. I don't have a variable set over here for our media player. I have to recreate that. So I'm going to go ahead and delete. Actually, no, I'm not going to delete it just so I know where it goes. I'm going to repeat it. So I'm going to go ahead and add a variable, and I'm going to call it Iceland VR. Iceland VR. Come over here, and then we're going to go for media, and we're going to look for media player, and object reference, compile, put this as my media player. Okay, and then we've got this. I can now put this here, get, and we'll plug it in there, and we'll plug it in over here to the target, and then I just delete this. Oh, crap. Delete you. And then I can, just recreate this, or I could just plug these in wherever I see the media player. And delete this, and then these are my begin and end overlap, which I do not have set to the trigger box right now. So if I click on that and then I right click in here, add event for trigger box, collision, begin overlap, and add event, collision, end overlap. Now I can plug these into the sequence here, delete this, and plug this into the sequence or into the close here. Delete, compile, and now everything should work. Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and package this, and I will do a quick run through, and we'll see how it looks. So to package it, we go up to Platforms, and this is Windows, and I'm packaging the project. Let's see how it turned out. Looking pretty good. Perfect. All right, so that is the project. Hopefully you all enjoyed learning how to add a VR template to your first person and package it. Thank you very much.